Hello, friends. The journey to self discovery is what we're going to be talking about today. The journey to self discovery is born out of a little experience that I had and I am willing to share. Um, so, me and my wife, we, kind of like told ourselves or understood that all the blessing that we are enjoying is not just for us. We should be able to share it with other people. I am someone that grew up on the Joseph people principle of understanding that the blessing is not just for you. Whatever you have is not just for you, it's for you and all the other persons who would come by your way, who God will bring by your way, who will come by your way. So recently, before we left the country, we hired a house help, but pretty much quick into the few days she stayed with us, we perceived and understood that she was not a fit for our house. She wasn't a fit for our house. So we had to let her go because she was not a fit at all. But before we let her go, we tried to put a structure in place to help her out, basically. So what did we do? She was a young lady who was quite tall. So I called her and asked her, I said, "Have you heard about basketball?" She said, "Yes. Do you think it's something you will want to do? I think you have the height, and but we just have to find out if you have the skill to learn it." Because why I am doing now, this is not me telling her. This is me talking to myself afterwards. That sometimes you never know what you're going to be interested in until you see it. Sometimes the reason why some of us struggle with life and struggle with our career or the pursuit of a profession is because no one introduced us to the possibilities of building a career in a different field, right? Everybody cannot be an educationist, or everybody cannot go to school and study to be a doctor or engineer or something. Many times in our society, we look down on some of these other professions that are not book based. A lot of times, the journey to self discovery. The journey to self discovery is you intuitively asking yourself questions, learning from experience to understand who you are and how you can make something meaningful out of your life. So I spoke to her and I said, basketball, I think you have the height, but we don't know if you have the skill or not. So would you be interested to play basketball, professionally? And she thought about it and she said, yes, that she'll be willing to give it a shot, that she'll be willing to. I said, okay, no problem. So I made some inquiries, made some contacts, and found I found a coach that has a camp, a basketball camp, a basketball training camp that he runs somewhere in Ogun State, just a little bit out of Lagos, And I enrolled her into that school. They didn't ask for much, which was a good thing. The man and the team running it were literally doing it just to discover talents and then, transit them into international or professional leagues. So I enrolled her in, and for the following 1 year, we kept, sending her support, money. Sometimes we call and speak to her every time, literally every other week. I will call to ask how is it going. I'll speak with the coach. Of course, she didn't just go from our house. We told her to bring her family member. So she brought a cousin of hers who is also living in Lagos. And, we all spoke and agreed and talked. So it wasn't something we just sent her. We had the consent of family, Now, we sent her, and I kept monitoring her progress. Once in a while, we'll regularly send her support money, for that whole 1 year. So this is from last year, exactly around the time that we were leaving Nigeria, to this year. And me and my wife saw this as a way of us, giving back to society, helping someone, because one of the things we told ourselves is that every house help or help that we ever live with, we will impact their life, in such a way that they will be established, right? So this is, we would both treat them better and pay them well. This is an agreement we had. So this young lady, pretty, few months into the training, I started getting reports from the coach, from one of the younger coach, who was the person I spoke to directly before he now brought me to meet their head coach. So we were getting reports, of the first stories were, she's trying, she's speaking up, she's doing well. We started getting stories about her not being serious, or not being committed as much as they would want her to commit, because the truth is, for someone like her, she was a little bit out of the age range, so it meant she had to work, 2 or 3 times harder than every other person there. Now, I started getting reports. In fact, at some point, she quarreled with her coach, and, literally, and, because they had certain coaches that were assigned to them. She quarreled with her coach. I had to come in and mediate. What is the problem? Story here, story there. I spoke to the young girl, tell her, look, the reason why you are in this particular program is for you to learn this game. Every other thing is peripheral. Every other thing is secondary. How they make you feel, or how you feel about what someone said to you, or whatever the challenge is, or whether you didn't eat food and you were hungry, all of that are temporary. So because we were out of the country, it was also quite difficult for her to reach us, sometimes when she needs something, right? So, but I try to, always keep in touch. We try to always keep in touch to make sure that, she's okay, all right? But this year, the cousin brother called me and told me that she has been expelled from the school, from the training camp. I said, what happened? That the head coach expelled her because of several issues. They say she wasn't staying in the camp where they allocated accommodation for women, right? That she was now living somewhere outside that particular accommodation. The truth is that accommodation wasn't comfortable enough. It wasn't even comfortable at all, but they had to stay there, so they said that, it wasn't comfortable. No, this was her now telling me, but later. But, the story was that the coach expelled her. So I tried to call the coach. I think the coach was too pissed to even want to talk to me. So that was when I knew there were several other things. So there was an accusation of money of another, a player being missing, that she was the only person in that room. There was no proof that she took it. But it now from the whole story now occurred that was just another ruse. So when I now finally spoke to the younger coach who I met first, so that one told me that, sir, to tell me the truth, that young lady, she's not improving in her game. She makes trouble and issues with every situation. She's not committed to the game. You tell her to show up for training, she will show up sometimes and she will not be training, or she will come and she'll be hiding somewhere waiting for other people to come, or she would not do what she's being asked to do. Because from what I understand, sometimes your personal coach can have you come out early in the morning to do some drills even before he or she comes to now begin to train you. So he told me that this young lady, she's not committed. She quarrels with everybody. She doesn't even have one coach that is close to her, that she is in good terms with. So he just kept giving me, reasons why they expelled her, that it was a collective decision by all the coaches to just have her leave the team and leave the camp entirely because she wasn't improving, and she didn't even have the character, both personal character and the people relations character to be able to even deal with it. And as he was talking to me, he reminded me of the initial issue that was reported to me, of how she's not forthcoming with people. She doesn't respect the coaches. She would just go off, she go off and start harassing and, insulting and, talking back to coaches. She's not dedicated. She will not show up and all sorts. So when I spoke to her, she complained about not having, that the reason why she does not come out. So one of the stories was that they're supposed to train in the morning and train in the evening. So the story is that she will come for the morning, but she will not come for the evening. And she was telling me that the reason why she didn't come, she didn't come for the evening training is because, after the morning training, she'll be too tired. And because she didn't have any money, that's why she did not come out for the evening training. But the coach told me that if she told them that she didn't have money or she didn't have food to eat, that they would have made provision for her, because they do. Because the camp is supported by other players who have gone professional, who now, send, donations to keep the camp running. Now, in all of this, she couldn't reach me because of, we were outside the country and it was difficult to call. And she wasn't on WhatsApp. Now, normally she would send a message to the cousin who is on WhatsApp. I can easily reach me, but she didn't do that. But when I now looked at the whole story, I just saw someone who was not interested. Because by the time I spoke with the coaches, spoke with the cousin, added it with some of the information that I have, it was obvious that this sports thing, she was too lazy. Or she was lazy, let's not say too lazy, but she was lazy for the rigors of professional sports. And the truth is, anybody who knows professional sports knows that the rigor is serious. It's hard work. She wasn't ready for it. And these were some of the things I had told her in the past, that you have to be dedicated and committed if you really want. And funny enough, every now and then I'll ask her, are you still interested in it? Do you still want to do it? All through that 1 year, at least I always ask her, like every 2-3 months, are you growing? Are you improving? Is this something you want to do? And now that she has been expelled, and I told her, they have expelled you, go back to Lagos. I was thinking, so what will this young lady do? How can we help her to find herself, to find her purpose, to find what she wants to do with her life? Because we should be able to give ourselves the liberty to find ourselves. Sometimes we are boxed in the things that our parents told us, or the circumstances of our background and how we grew up, and we don't give ourselves the liberty to find ourselves. Especially as young people, especially as people in their 20s. If you are a young person and you are in your 20s, you have to give yourself the liberty of finding yourself. Because a lot of times we see people who live to old age and they regret the life they lived because they weren't doing anything of interest, of passion. They lived their life working for things for people and in situations or companies or jobs that they were not interested or passionate about, so they didn't have any joy in their life. Just to make ends meet. That was the only reason why they worked. And I am a believer of the fact that if your life was expended just to make ends meet, you did not live, you just existed. If your life was expended, if all you did in your life was just to make money so that you can be able to feed your family and your children, or feed yourself, or you did not live, you just existed. So this morning I was just thinking about the journey to self-discovery. How can we give ourselves the liberty to find ourselves? Find your purpose. Discover yourself. So this young lady, I'm not angry that she didn't make it. I mean, it would have been nice, but I'm not angry that she didn't. Funny enough, I'm not angry that I gave her an opportunity and she didn't maximize the opportunity. If I were to calculate how much money I was spending, literally every month, I was literally paying her a salary every month just for her to be there. Right? But one thing I have learned in the past couple of years is that we need to give ourselves the allowance to fail. Because in failure, you learn. And in learning, you can come back to correct your mistakes. So in failure, you can learn. And in learning, you can correct your mistakes. So that we should learn to give ourselves the liberty to take chances, venture out, try things out, so that we can, because it's in trying things out that you can find yourself. Everybody, funny enough, the truth is this: the people who get it right, nobody even gets it right at the first go. The people who have a seemingly situation that looks like that are people who already made their mistakes or learned from the mistake of their forebears, of their parents, or who have been given a launching pad. Because the truth is, everybody will taste failure at some point in their journey. And it could be anything. It could be for any reason. It could be lack of hard work or dedication. It could also be just being out of your comfort zone, or it could also just be being out of your area of strength. The thing that you are involved in, the work, the career, wasn't your area of strength, wasn't something you were passionate about. Everybody has something that they are passionate about. And if you're operating outside the area of your passion, there's a high probability that you won't muster type. I mean, there is, in all of this, there is laziness also. There is bad attitude, because I think that this young lady, part of her issue is bad attitude, because part of the report I got was that attitude, that negative attitude, that attitude of not being humble to learn, that attitude of not being dedicated, just bad attitude, bad people relations, not knowing how to humble. Like I remember many times I told her, whatever your coaches tell you, just say, don't argue with them. Because as long as this particular career is concerned, they know more than you. That is why they are your coaches. Just do what you are asked to do. You are there for just a moment. Many times. So sometimes there's bad attitude in all of it. Sometimes there is lack of discipline in all of it. But the truth is, if you begin to dig into it, you find that there is a root cause of why this person is revolting, why they have so much bitterness or hatred. There's a root cause. It is coming from somewhere. So that in your journey of finding yourself, you have to find your happy spot. Find the source of your joy. And for you to find the source of your joy, you have to discover what are the tendencies of bitterness and hate in your life. What are the tendencies of bitterness and hate and anger in your life? What are the underlying factors, or what is beneath the surface? What are you running away from? What are you hiding from? You know, what happened in your life that scarred you so much that once the trigger shows up, you flip? You have to find those places and heal in those places. Because the young lady, it just occurred to me that there are underlying factors that breeds that insecurity that leads to revolts. There's something deep in there. Once you unearth that and heal that, you will see a different person entirely. And I've seen this happen over and over again in people's lives, always and all the time. The first place that needs to heal is your soul. The first place you need to discover is your soul, your inner being, the personality that no one else is seeing. Whatever your fears are, whatever the childhood trauma is or are, those are the places that need to heal first. You have to be discovered in that space before it now manifests in every other thing you're doing. So that in the journey of self-discovery, find yourself. And in finding yourself, you have to find what your fears are, what the traumas were. Whatever that happened in your past, in your family when you were a kid, that scarred you so much that it's now manifesting itself. Because the thing about these traumas, these childhood traumas, is that they are there with you for life, except you discover them and begin to heal and begin to change. They are there. And that is why we have to give ourselves the opportunity to fail, the opportunity to get it wrong sometimes. Because in getting it wrong, you will be able to now start asking yourself questions about why did I fail? Asking the questions of why did I fail will lead you to start finding answers. The answers will give you the solution of how you can succeed. find yourself. Take out time to ask yourself those questions. Why am I always angry? Why am I always bitter? Why do I beat my wife or beat my child like that? Why am I always, suspicious of everything? Why do I have so much insecurity? You have to ask yourself those questions. And don't forget, in all of this, there is the part where God heals you. Why do I have men issues, or why do I have women issues? Why am I promiscuous? There is always something deep within that is triggering it. That is my word for you today on Life with Brian Martins. Thank you for listening. Find yourself.